The air hung heavy with the promise of terror on that dark, moonless night. A group of friends had gathered for a sleepover in an old, creaking mansion nestled deep within the forest. The house had long been abandoned, and its legend was well known in the town. They had come here to test their courage, but none could have foreseen the horrors that awaited. The night began innocently enough, with laughter and the sharing of ghost stories. A chill settled over the group as the wind whistled through the ancient trees. Sarah, the fearless leader of the pack, decided to up the stakes. She challenged her friends to play a game of hide and seek in the pitch-black darkness of the mansion. They agreed, though their bravado masked the growing unease they felt. The rules were simple: one person would be it, while her friends rushed into the room, their eyes wide with fright. They had all felt a presence, seen eerie apparitions in the darkness. The house seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy that threatened to consume them. Terrified and shaken to their cores, they abandoned their game and fled the mansion, never looking back. The secrets of the old, haunted house remained locked away, waiting for the next unsuspecting souls to uncover the darkness that lurked within. And as they ran from that cursed place, the wind carried with it a sinister whisper, a chilling reminder that some horrors are best left undisturbed. The mansion stood alone, an ominous sentinel in the forest, waiting for the next group of daring souls to stumble upon its malevolent secrets. Decades had passed since the old mansion had cast its malevolent shadow over the previous group of ill-fated friends. A new generation of daredevils, oblivious to the legends that lurked in the town's darkest corners, was drawn to the cursed estate like moths to a flame. Unaware of the horrors that had unfolded within, they arrived at the edge of the forest with a strange, irresistible curiosity. These fresh faces, possessed by a reckless desire to conquer the very fear that had shattered their predecessors, gathered at the mansion's foreboding threshold. Moonlight cascaded through the ancient trees, casting eerie shadows that seemed to writhe and recoil at their approach. As they ventured deeper into the woods, a palpable unease settled upon them like a shroud. The mansion, hunched in the distance, was a looming titan of despair, its stone facade glistening with dew under the watchful, malevolent gaze of the moon. One by one, they crossed the threshold into the dilapidated mansion, its creaking floors welcoming them with a mournful sigh. Each step carried with it the weight of the past, but the newcomers remained oblivious to the suffering etched into the very walls of the house. Exploration was their initial goal, their bravado unfazed by the whispered warnings of townsfolk. Room by room, they delved deeper into the mansion's darkness, their flashlights revealing forgotten relics, dusty tapestries, and shattered remnants of a life long gone. Then, as if guided by a perverse hand of fate, they stumbled upon it, the small, windowless chamber, unchanged by the passage of time. Sheets cloaked old furniture as if to shield the room from witnessing its own dark secrets. A single, ornate mirror hung ominously on the wall. Intrigued, one of the teenagers approached the mirror, casting a feeble light upon its intricacies. As they gazed into the glass, a creeping dread descended upon them. Shadows lengthened and danced behind their reflection, like specters of the past yearning to resurface. The chilling echo of the past reverberated through the chamber, memories of the previous group's desperate flight from this very room. As the room's energy shifted, the new group felt the presence, an unsettling weight bearing down upon their collective soul. Reality crashed upon them like a tidal wave. The sinister figure materialized behind their companion, its ghastly grin more terrible than any nightmare. Frozen by the sheer horror of the revelation, the group began to realize the truth, that the mansion's curse had persisted, unyielding, across time and space. Panic surged as the new group fought to escape the room, a mirror image of the terror that had ensnared their predecessors. Their cries filled the mansion, a chorus of desperation that echoed through the corridors and haunted halls. In their frantic flight from the malevolent presence, they retraced the steps of those who had come before, running through the same dark hallways and over the same creaking floorboards. The mansion's grim silhouette watched as the new group emerged from its dreadful clutches, casting one final, longing gaze toward the unhallowed grounds. The old mansion stood alone once more, its dark history interwoven with new blood, and a chilling sense of anticipation for the next chapter in its dark and tormenting legacy. Part 3: the mansion's eternal grasp. Decades had come and gone, yet the mansion, that cursed edifice hidden deep within the gloomy forest, stood sentinel to the passage of time. It bore the scars of countless experiences, both macabre and tragic, and whispered the unspeakable secrets of those who had dared to cross its threshold. The house, it seemed, was eternal in its malevolence, a dark entity that time could not erase. Within its ancient, crumbling walls, the stories of terror and tragedy played out like phantom echoes, and the mansion held an insidious power that transcended generations. It had consumed the hopes and dreams of one group of friends after another, drawing them into its shadowy abyss. Now, another generation, oblivious to the horrors of their predecessors, approached the mansion, as though pulled by an irresistible force that had lured countless others to their doom. The group of teenagers, like those who came before them, had heard the whispers in the town, tales of the mansion, stories of vanished souls and haunting apparitions. The weight of the legends bore down upon them, but they paid little heed, fueled by youthful arrogance and the stubborn belief that they could conquer any fear. As they gathered at the edge of the forest, the moon hung low in the sky, casting a pallor over the night. An eerie breeze rustled the leaves, like a mournful requiem for the lives the mansion had claimed. Their footsteps, cautious yet determined, carried them deeper into the woods, where the mansion awaited, shrouded in an unsettling silence. The mansion stood, as ever, defiant against the ravages of time. Its decrepit facade loomed menacingly, daring the newcomers to challenge its secrets. Moonlight painted its stone exterior with ghostly hues, revealing the cracks and decay that marred its once grand appearance. The house seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, as though aware of the fresh prey that had ventured into its domain. One by one, they crossed the threshold, the creaking floorboards beneath their feet betraying the weight of history that clung to the house. Each step was a reminder of the countless souls who had entered and never returned. Their flashlights pierced the darkness, revealing a world frozen in time, forgotten relics, dusty tapestries, and shattered remnants of a life long gone. As they explored room after room, they could not shake the feeling that the very walls of the mansion were alive with the echoes of the past. They whispered their warnings, a chilling symphony of despair that seemed to bounce off the walls. The newcomers, however, pressed on, their defiance masking the trepidation that lurked just beneath the surface. And then, as though guided by an invisible hand, they stumbled upon it, the room. A small, windowless chamber, untouched by the passage of time, greeted their curious eyes. Sheets enshrouded the room's old furniture, like a shroud concealing the room's darkest secrets. And there, hanging on the wall, was the ornate mirror. One of the teenagers, drawn by an inexplicable force, approached the mirror. Its ornate frame seemed to trap the very essence of malevolence, and as they gazed into the glass, their unease deepened. Shadows danced behind their reflection, like specters yearning to break free from their eternal torment. The room's energy shifted, and a profound sense of déjà vu washed over the group. It was as though they had been here before, though they knew that was impossible. Memories of the previous groups of friends who had met their fates in this very room played out before their eyes, like a macabre reel of terror. The new group began to sense the presence, an unseen malevolence that hung in the air like a shroud. It pressed upon them, an insidious weight that seemed to crawl beneath their skin, chilling them to the bone. Their courage wavered, and the realization that the mansion's curse had persisted through the ages gnawed at their souls. Then it happened. As if to confirm their darkest fears, the sinister figure began to materialize behind the teenager gazing into the mirror. Its ghastly grin twisted with malevolence, and its eyes gleamed with a sinister hunger that transcended time itself. Frozen by terror, the group watched in helpless horror as the sinister figure extended its gnarled hand, reaching for the hapless teenager. Its fingers brushed against the teenager's shoulder, sending a shockwave of dread through the room. The figure was not a mere spectre of the past, it was a malevolent entity, a force of darkness that sought to claim their very souls. Panic surged through the group, and a chorus of screams pierced the night. They scrambled to flee the room, crashing into each other in their frantic desperation to escape the malevolent presence. Their cries filled the mansion, a symphony of fear that resonated through its haunted halls, a haunting dirge for the souls lost to its grasp. As they fled, the mansion seemed to come alive, its very structure contorting and groaning in response to their terror. It was as though the house itself reveled in their fear, feeding on the anguish and despair that it had once again wrought upon the living. In their mad dash to escape, they retraced the steps of those who had come before them, running through the same dark hallways and over the same creaking floorboards. The mansion's ominous silhouette watched as the new group burst from its dark heart and spilled out into the moonlit night, their faces twisted in terror and their hearts heavy with the knowledge that they had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death. The mansion, a malevolent entity that had transcended time, watched them with its unseen eyes, its hunger momentarily sated. It knew that it would bide its time, waiting for the next group of unsuspecting souls to stumble into its web of darkness. As the night settled, the mansion stood alone, its ancient stones bearing witness to the eternal cycle of fear and despair. It knew that it would endure, a sinister guardian of its own unholy secrets, for as long as there were those who dared to challenge its dominion. And so, the mansion's legacy continued, a tale of terror and woe that spanned the ages, a dark and foreboding chapter in the annals of the cursed estate. The horrors of the past and the present were but a prelude to the nightmares that awaited the next group of souls who would inevitably be drawn into its eternal grasp.